Hi, I'm Ali Porti, fashion and lifestyle journalist and editor of Zayla magazine. I've always been interested in biographies and in the stories of people's lives, basically listening to what stirs their souls. Welcome to the soulful side of life, where I let you in on some of my conversations with inspiring people from around the world in fashion, faith, entertainment, music, and entrepreneurship. These are conversations that stir the soul about people's journeys, about the ups and downs of life, and how they have overcome certain situations. I hope that these episodes will inspire your life in some way, so enjoy over a cup of something hot or on your drive to work. This is The Soulful Side of Life and can be found on Spotify Podcasts or Apple Podcasts. During this year's Cannes Film Festival, I met Alessandro Sugar and Andrea Fabrizii, as well as Alessandro's siblings, and they're all a delight. Both Alessandro and Andrea are part of Cam Sugar, which is a catalog that represents Italian and French soundtracks with over 2,000 original scores. Music in their catalog are found in Oscar-winning films like La Dolce Vita, Il Pazzitano, Mondo Cane, 8½, and more. Major international producers and directors pick and choose from Cam Sugar's archive, with hundreds of samples and synchronizations from movies to fashion campaigns. Who can forget Jack Black in The Holiday opposite Kate Winslet, where his character composed a song inspired by the late great Italian composer Ennio Morricone? Or Quentin Tarantino introducing America to the film genre spaghetti western in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is the space that Andrea and Alessandro work in. They bring French and Italian composed works of art alive in films. And works by Italian and French composers from Morricone to Nino Rota to Riz Orlani and Alain Goraguer are in their library. At 24, Alessandro is head of Cam Sugar label, connecting the catalog with contemporary through sync sampling and curations. He collaborates with a young team focused on bringing Cam Sugar's music to new audiences. And Andrea, on the other hand, is a gold digger and not the kind I'm referring to. He is able to hunt for gold in terms of vinyls, tapes, and forgotten stories. As well as a musician, he's a producer, communicator, and one of Italy's leading Italian experts in the field of cinema and soundtracks. Doing A&R for the Cam Sugar label, Andrea oversees the editing and sound restoration of archival music, ensuring the renowned sonic quality of their releases. Also a DJ, Andrea includes the works of Morricone, Stelvio Cipriani, Stefano Turrisi, and others, which he highlights in his mixes for the Cam sound system that's performed at international festivals, listening sessions, clubs, and radio stations. So enjoy this podcast episode with Alessandro and Andrea and be inspired by the work of music and cinema and these two men who are bringing alive the works of late and great Italian and French composers in the Hollywood film space. Thank you guys for joining the podcast. This is really cool. I like your posters behind you, your movie posters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so jumping right in, how would you describe, in your own words, what Cam Sugar does to people who don't know?
Is Alessandro? Okay,
The first
I was
question. Okay.
So yeah, basically, Cam Sugar is the largest catalog of Italian and French soundtracks, and comprises approximately 2,500 soundtracks within the entire catalog. And the peculiarity of Come Sugar is that half of it is practically completely unreleased. So this is music from the biggest composers in French and Italian history, from Morricone to Rota, from Trovaioli to Goraguet, François Deroubaix, Stelvio Cipriani, and many, many others. But the nice thing is it's also this catalog also comprises music from lesser known composers, which are incredible and were incredible back in the time. And we on a daily basis, thanks to Andrea's work, mainly we do very incredible discoveries from the archive of new soundtracks that we discover from the original master tapes.
Wow, that's so fascinating. Are you naturally a fan of movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a fan of movies and soundtracks.
Yeah, and what would you say, Andrea, you can answer too, what makes like, in movie scenes when you're trying to pick the right track for a scene, like what makes the best music pick for a scene?
Absolutely. For me, the soundtrack is an essential part of the storytelling. And sometimes it even becomes the emotional backbone of a film. And when I watch a movie, I'm definitely as attentive to the music as I am to the visuals and narrative. Often the soundtrack reveals what the characters or the story can say outright, adding layers or meaning and feelings. I pay particular attention to how the music interacts with the film's rhythm and pacing, how it shapes the mood of a scene or creates contrast to build tension or irony. I love when composers use motifs or recurring themes that evolve alongside characters and story, almost becoming musical characters themselves. I'm growing up immersed in the great cinema. I was deeply influenced by the film like Fellini, Eight Alf, and with Rota's unforgettable score, or Sergio Leone epic western elevated by Ennio Morricone revolutionary composition. The haunting atmospheric music of Dario Argento, for example, for the giallo and thrilling music scored by Goblin, or the elegant jazz infused by Piero Piccioni, also shaped how I experience film music. And please stop me because
You're passionate.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Alessandro, you just mentioned that there's a lot of music that hasn't been like discovered yet, or I guess, yeah, that's not out there. So it's basically new music by these composers that have long passed away. I just think that's so fascinating that it's like a lot of this new music. How do you go in, like, do you have to go in and like organize it, and how do you like present that to films when they like directors come looking for music? How do you present these untapped tracks?
Well, it all starts from the original master tapes that we are lucky enough to have in our archive. And it all really starts from there. So from the original master tapes and from a part of the digital archive that we have as well, we are able to recognize just by like matching various lists that we have, what is already present and what is not present in our master list. And when it's not present, we usually start investigating where the soundtrack comes from, the composer, and then we sort of start from there to explore all of the material to verify if it's of our own property. And basically what we do is we release this music both in digital formats, so across all streaming platforms, and across curated vinyl releases that we do. We we do a limited number of vinyl releases per year, but each one of them is very, very curated. And so that is mainly how we divulgate this catalog. Keep in mind we digitize approximately 250 soundtracks per year.
Wow.
And that's all of the work of restoration that Andrea does, and we then promote this music either always on digital, and then either on digital only, or on digital and vinyl and CD releases.
Gotcha. Okay. Quick question, Alessandro. What inspired your grandparents to start Cam Sugar, and did they have a passion for music that led them to start the company?
Yeah. So actually, my grandparents didn't start Cam Sugar because Cam Sugar was founded by the Campi family.
Okay.
And then in 1960, and then in 2011, my father brought the catalog, and that is where we began all of the process of digitalization and restoration of music that was completely lost.
Okay.
And yeah, my family, it's always been into music because Cam Sugar is part of the Sugar Music Group, which is the largest independent label in Italy, and it was founded by my great grandpa in 1932.
Okay.
And my grandma was a singer, and yeah, now my dad, obviously he works here, and he represents the group, and yes, so music has always been in the family, let's say.
Gotcha. I see. Okay, I got it confused. It was the great grandparents that started.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. Andrea, how important has music been in your life outside of the company?
Music has always been a central part of my life, long before it became part of my professional journey. I started studying as a kid. My first instrument was the organ
Wow.
on my backside, which I found fascinating for depth and sense of structure it gave me. But during my teenage years, I was drawn. It's something more visceral and energetic, so I picked up the electric bass, which felt like a more instinctive and expressive extension of myself at the time. I still play bass today, actually.
Wow.
I'm in a garage punk band called Los Infartos. It's a project that brings me a lot of joy. Playing live, playing loud, sweating out with loud amps and raw sound. I think it's a kind of liberation that balance out of the more refined curatorial side of my work. In terms of what I listen, my taste has always been quite wide, but there are definitely threads that run through it all. I'm especially to black music in all forms: soul, funk, jazz, blues, rhythm and blues, and the roots that connect them. And I also have a deep love for psychedelia and world music, especially when it pushes boundaries and blends genre. These are the sounds that have stayed with me over the years and continue to inspire me, both personally and professionally.
Of course.
I think that eclecticism is reflected in the work we do with Cam Sugar. The idea behind the label was never just to reissue all the Italian soundtracks, but to treat them as timeless cultural objects, giving them the care, context, and aesthetic they deserve. And I always been fascinated by the emotional and narrative power of music. So for me, music isn't just a career; it's a personal language, a form of memory, and a lifelong companion.
Of course, of course. It's amazing how, like, even if you don't speak the language of that song, it can still speak to you. Yeah. So Andrea, how did you get connected with Cam Sugar?
I started my collaboration 5 years ago as sound editor, and now as an A&R catalog curator at Camp Sugar. My role is deeply rooted in the preservation and revitalization of Italy's cinematic music heritage. And I approach this responsibility with a profound respect for the original works, ensuring that each release is treated as a timeless cultural artifact. This involves meticulous research in the composer's backgrounds, the film context, and the historical significance of the soundtracks. For example, a typical day for me begins with an extensive listening session,
Okay.
immersing myself in the nuance of the music to understand its emotional depth and narrative power. And I collaborate closely with audio engineers to ensure the highest quality remastering, preserving the integrity of the original recordings. And I work with designers to create packaging that reflects the aesthetic of the era while happening to contemporary audience. And that's all.
Yeah. How long does it take for you to like work with one song? Like, and how many of the songs in the catalog have y'all restored?
I think it's about so yeah, as I said before, it's 250 soundtrack that we digitalize and restore per year, and it all depends on the conditions in which we find the original master tapes or the original audio files. So that kind of impacts on the process of restoration. To put ourselves like a goal of 250 per year that we are able to accomplish, and it's really like a meticulous work, as Andrea was saying, of not only like restoring the music, but sometimes creating new songs, literally because of the conditions in which we might find the original files or the master tapes.
I see. And yeah, Andrea, if there's anything you would like to add on to that, like how long does it take to restore a song?
Depends from the state of conservation of the track. There's many master tapes perfectly conserved and master tapes in really bad condition. And when the tapes are very in very bad condition, you have to cook literally the tape in the forno, non mi viene mai, help.
The oven.
In the oven, yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a really artisan. Like the nice thing is that it's a really artisanal and hands-on process. Because although it might seem like a joke, but literally to restore a tape if it's in bad conditions, you have to bake it
the tape
in an oven. And I'm not an expert on the technical process that occurs, but it's really fascinating and really artisanal. So it's kind of like an archaeological work that we do.
And how many different people are y'all working with? Like, sound engineers. Like, how many people come together to restore?
So it's mainly the process of restoration. Andrea oversees it together with Riccardo, who collaborates with us, and he has a studio in close to where Andrea lives in the center of Italy and in Brighton as well. And they collaborate very closely to not only restore, but also edit, mix, and master all of the music that we restore.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay, so Cam Sugar is pivotal to Italian and French movie culture. How does it feel to be behind the soundtracks of making a dent in cinema history?
Io too.
Bye.
It's incredibly humbling. Honestly, I see myself more as a custodian than a creator in this context. Someone who's been given to the responsibility to preserve, reinterpret, and share a body of work that's already deeply ingrained in cinematic history. We are talking about composers like Ennio Morricone, Piero Piccioni, Nino Rota, Rizzo Ortolani, Armando Trovaioli, and from the French side we have Georges Deroux, and many others, and whose music didn't just accompany films but helped define the emotional identity of entire cinematic movements, whether it's Fellini, Visconti, or Godard. These directors really done music not just as backdrop, but as storytelling force. And being behind Camp Sugar means having the privilege to create or reintroduce this legacy to new audiences, both those who remember these films and new generation that's discovering them through streaming, vinyl, or even sampling, for example. Our goal is to give this music the space it deserves, with care and context, but also aesthetic vision that connects with today's listeners. What's most exciting, but we are not simply working with the past. We are helping shape how the soundtracks will live in the future. Every release is a creative act. Whether it's a deluxe edition on vinyl, a remastered digital release, or a visual reinterpretation, and we treat each one as a way to bridge years and sensibilities.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and adding very quickly to what Andrea explained, it's really Cam Sugar is really a kind of cultural mission, because we really work to restore and give a new life to music that would be completely forgotten otherwise. And it's not us who speak, but it's the music and the composers that have to speak, especially the composers that perhaps are lesser known to audiences today, but that were incredible composers and really marked the history of Italian and French soundtracks in the past, and that deserve to be remembered and to be discovered by young audiences. Reason for which it's very fascinating that all of the Camp Sugar team is really young and decided to really embark in this mission that is mainly cultural and of infinite cultural value, and it's a way of giving back all of this incredible work.
Just a quick conclusion. So yes, I feel surreal sometimes to think that our work touches the history of cinema. But more than anything, it feels like a mission. We're rooted in deep admiration for the composers, filmmakers, and the unique alchemy that happens when music and image collide perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Morricone and some of these other composers, were they composers for film soundtracks, or they were just making music, right? And do you feel that, if that's correct, do you feel that because they were just composing and making music, it gives a different, I don't know, recipe or just a different sound to their songs that are being used for cinema, for tracks in movies, TV shows? Do you think it changes because they weren't focusing specifically on music for cinema?
Yeah, I think that what is really incredible is that you really have to kind of contextualize the era in which this music was created, because it spans from the 60s to mid 80s approximately. So that was a moment of complete economic expansion for Italy, especially, and there were huge investments in culture, in music and movies. So these composers maybe found themselves scoring 27 soundtracks per year, which these kind of volumes of work allowed them to be incredibly free and experimental in the kind of music that they did. So this allowed them to, yes, work mainly on soundtracks, but really work and create music that was really much larger, much more free, much more risky as well, and full of influences from outside of Italy, which is what characterizes really this kind of music, is that it's global, but with an unmistakable Italian or French touch. And this kind of freedom is very, very difficult to recreate today. But it's almost a limit to categorize it as a soundtrack music, because it's really much more, and it's really maybe like the most contemporary and global Italian music in the world, as far as it's recognized outside of Italy as well.
Yeah.
Yes, in my opinion, we are talking about the best music ever recorded in Italy. Italian creativity, especially in the arts, has always thrived on attention between tradition and reinventation. But if there a moment that truly encapsulates its spirit in the 60s and 70s, that was a golden era of radical experimentation, where music, cinema, design, and architecture were all breaking boundaries, often in dialogue with each other. For example, when I explore the Camp Sugar archive, I'm constantly reminded on that fearless energy. Composers like Ennio Morricone, Piero Piccioni weren't just scoring films. They were pioneering new sonic languages. They blended jazz, funk, psychedelia, early electronic, and classical influences into something uniquely Italian style, but globally resonant. It was a time when rules didn't really apply, when a film score could include a bossa nova track, a Moog synthesizer experiment, and a Baroque choral place, all in the same album or in the same score. This openness to hybridization, to cross-pollination of genre and disciplines was everywhere in Italy at the time. You see in the cinema of Fellini, Antonioni, Pasolini, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all so fascinating. Like I credit Tarantino for introducing like the term spaghetti western in his film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Do you hope more Americans and even British directors engage with your archives to make the soundtracks of these great composers more alive to a larger audience?
Yeah, definitely. And we really it's already happening, and we really look forward to more possibility of this type. We do a lot of collaborations also on specific compilations that are curated by directors. So we did one dedicated to actually the music of spaghetti westerns, from our archive, with James Samuel, who did an incredible curatorial work, and really gifted us with his take, not only of classic spaghetti western, but of what contemporary spaghetti westerns sound like. And it's been incredible. We collaborated with Eli Roth, who also did a wonderful curation and worked incredibly. We were so honored to work with him. He curated a release called Red Light Disco, comprising music from Italian kind of sexy and erotic comedies from the 70s. And these are all really kind of testaments and really it's really an honor for us to collaborate with such legendary and great directors and artists, and just see how they envision and interpret this historic catalog. Tarantino obviously has been a great a great spokesperson of these movies and of this music, and we're sure that this will happen more and more, in small parts also thanks to our constant rediscovery of this music.
Yeah. Has he called y'all to work with y'all in any way, or any other like Hollywood directors?
He I believe used in the past some music from our catalog, and he obviously is a a big fan of kind of these genres of Italian B movies, Italian horrors as well. So who knows in the future?
Yeah. Okay, so when you look at the Cam Sugar archive and all of the great Italian composers, how would you describe Italian creativity? Because Italians are like all super creative. It's been that way for centuries, from fashion and art. Yeah, what comes to mind when you look at your archive and the music?
I think similar to what we were saying before, it kind of comes to mind like this is a very playful and innocent, in a way, catalog, because it's the result of the work that these composers have done in very free and kind of young conditions, in the sense that they were able to experiment sometimes in very also innocent ways, maybe not even using proper instruments, but playing on tables, and it's really the result of like infinite studio sessions in Rome, which Andrea often tells us like incredible anecdotes. So the thing that comes to mind is that it's not only like the music is incredible, but it also has an innocent and very playful taste to it that makes it without any time. Like there's no time boundaries for this music.
Yeah, at Camp Sugar, we try to honor that legacy, Alessandro, not by just reusing music as archival material, but by presenting it as living art, deeply connected to that era's creative ethos. For me, Italian creativity, it's about the exact balance on artistry and audacity, depth and disruption. And the 60s and 70s gave us a blueprint for how powerful that mix can be. That's what Italian creativity is to me: timeless, fearless, and emotionally resonant. Again.
For sure. A couple of last questions. When you watch films, are you also paying, like, just watching it for fun? Do you both pay attention to the soundtrack more than the film? Like, just to see how, like, what song is being played? And I'm just curious if that's always something that sticks out for both of you.
Honestly, yeah. Like since I'm working in CAM for 1 year and a half now, always more attention directed to soundtracks. But yeah, I think they go hand in hand at times, and it's music always makes a film better, I think.
Yeah. It can't be the acting alone. It's like all of these. And since I've gotten into like the entertainment world and the fashion world, and even when I interview costume designers for films, like costumes also have a huge impact on films. So now, after meeting y'all in Cannes, I pay more attention now to a song in a movie, and like it makes me think of the work that you all do, because it has the power to tell the story as well. Yeah.
For example, I'm fascinated by the textures and instrumentation. For example, how a simple guitar riff or a Moog synthesizer or a full orchestral swell can transport you instantly to a particular era or in an emotional space. This composer understood how to make music speak as powerfully as the images on screen.
Yeah.
And in many ways, listening deeply to film music has shaped how I understand cinema itself. It's this proud dialogue between image and sound that makes film such a powerful and immersive art form, in my opinion.
For sure. Okay, the last question. I know that y'all do work during like fashion weeks, like Milan, I'm not sure, Paris, but what do y'all specifically do when it's like Milan Fashion Week with your music?
Well, you kind of this music and this repertoire is frequently sought after, either for brand advertisements during the fashion week, but not only, like throughout the course of the year. And throughout Fashion Week, our music is frequently used as part of the soundtrack of the fashion show. So we did a lot of works also this year, in which La Planète Sauvage by Alan Goraguet was used for Prada, Miu Miu, and Ennio Morricone's as well. Music from Mondo was used, but we did other work with Gucci last year as well, with our contemporary composer as well. And so yeah, this is mainly the kind of use related to brands as of now.
Gotcha. And don't y'all do as well as like some DJing for events, like parties and events?
Yeah. DJ sets and the listening sessions are part of like the kind of thousands of declinations that this catalog and this music has.
Yeah.
So we curate tailored listening sessions for audiences, curated by Andrea, and it's an occasion also to explain the work behind the scenes and let the music speak, and DJ sets as well. Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, this is the last question. What will y'all, or what does the rest of 2025 look for the work that y'all are doing?
Yeah, we have plenty of music that we will be releasing. Some very, very interesting compilations dedicated to themes that we have not explored until now. And other very interesting projects that will see the collaboration with other artists from today that we can't wait to unveil.
Wonderful. Well, yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for your
Thank you.
time. It's fascinating what you all do.
Thank you.
It's really fascinating to me. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for the wonderful interview.
My pleasure. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode and that you have found a soulful connection to the conversation. God bless you, and until the next episode, go bless somebody else.